Hey guys, first Regardsman here, and today I'll be talking about every single enemy in Space Marine 2 patch 9.0 and tier listing them. Now back in patch 8.0, I did make another tier list for these guys, but since then the Bioores got changed a little bit, and some of my opinions for their placements have also changed, so we're going to be doing this all over again. So first up we have the Hormigaunt. Now Hormigaunts are kind of funny in that they are very easy when they are surrounded by warriors, or they are absolute parry fodder, but on their own with like block weapons, they can be significantly more difficult because really every Tyrannid Minoris in Space Marine 2 is super susceptible to Synapse Burst, so when they're surrounded by the warriors, they are incredibly easy to kill, and they're really only dangerous on their own for that reason, which is why I kind of just put them in C. It's not that they can't do anything to you, but just the way the AI works in Space Marine 2 is that if there are any like bigger guys around these Minoris enemies, they don't actually like to attack you that much, so they kind of just like sit there and wait for the horde, and waiting for the horde when there are warriors around you that explode your brain, it just kind of makes you fodder, so C tier for sure. Now, next Minoris are the Termagants. These guys are an absolute range menace at times. The absolute spawn rate for them is like 8 to 12 or something like that. They put out a stupid amount of Termagants, and they are very obnoxious to actually fight sometimes because they have to get juggled by like range shots in the body. They don't actually like instantaneously die. They go into an execute state, and even like a Synapse Burst doesn't always reach them. So I'd probably put them in B. If they get your armor down and they're shooting your HP, it's a pretty easy way just to like get some of your HP shredded, and they're very obnoxious to fight at times. Though, most Tyrannid Minoris aren't too bad. They're definitely worse than the Hormigauns here. Now, next Tyrannid Minoris are the Spore Mines. Spore Mines suck. Even after like a 55% explosive damage reduction in patch 8.0, these dudes will still nuke your HP entirely sometimes, especially in siege mode. They're just very irritating, and the Bioores put out like a super Spore Mine that will like go into your face and detonate and also leave like an area hazard. Super toxic, which is why we'll also get into like how obnoxious the Bioores are later. But Spore Mines, they're definitely at least A tier. I mean, anything that can like nuke your HP on its own is like a Minoris enemy. The threat level of Spore Mines is just significantly higher than like Termagants and Hormigants, so they just have to go a higher tier to me. And like honestly, if you want to put them in S, you could do that too, but I'm just gonna put them in A because they did get a nerf and they aren't as bad as they used to be. Now, next guy here are the Barb Strangler Tyrannid Warriors. These guys, it feels like they got a buff in patch 9.0. There are so damn many of these things, and their Barb Strangle Wire little things, or like the bramble vines, they can positively cook you. There's so much HP nuking going on from these dudes. I would say they are at least A, because they have a severe impact on the map. Obviously, every enemy in Space Marine 2 is not that hard on its own, and that's why it's a horde shooter. They work in conjunction. And these guys, their impact in a horde, especially during a boss fight, is disgusting because Bramble just eats your armor, and when your armor is gone, you're taking HP damage. When you're taking HP damage and the Carnifex runs you over, well, you're in a bad spot. So Barb Strangler, A tier for sure. Now, next up, we have the Devourers here. These guys, I don't think they're too bad on their own when like they're unenraged. Like an enraged Devourer can nuke your HP like almost 100 to 0 so casually. Very annoying to fight. One of my least favorite enemies in the entire game. I'd say they are over the Barb Strangler when they're enraged. Like an enraged Barb guy isn't too bad because like Strangle Barbs, they kind of do like the same amount to you when you're when they're enraged versus unenraged. So these guys kind of just put out a consistent damage, but Devourers, they will just nuke your HP. They'll just like explode your head sometimes, and that alone kind of puts them in A tier, like a little bit over these guys to me. Now, next up, we have the Tyrannid Warriors. Tyrannid Sword Warriors are incredibly obnoxious in this game. I hate these guys. I think they're a little overtuned. When they put up like their little sword arms, they block 100% of range damage from pretty much every weapon in the game. They'll also block ground pound damage, and they'll also go enraged. And when these guys go enraged, they get like full HP back, they get like complete stun resist, and when a Sword Warrior has no stun, or like, you can't stagger them properly, these guys will put up their sword arms, and there's basically nothing you can do except wait for them to attack or open up, and that is terrible game design. I think these guys need like a little bit of a rework on their block because it is super obnoxious, and like I don't think one Majoris should have so much impact when they go enraged because they just stop the whole game flow and there's not much you can do. And also them blocking you for 100% range damage reduction means you can't get back your CHP very easily, so I think these guys easily go into S tier because of that. They are by far like the most dangerous enraged guy here. I mean, I guess you can make an argument that Devourers do more damage directly, but these guys have too much of an impact for like what they are, so I put them up here. Now next we have the Whip Warriors. Whip Warriors are kind of funky. They are definitely easier than the Sword Warriors because they have less of like a, they don't have the block, and the block is OP, but they do have a super obnoxious string, and if you don't have like no knockback, these guys can stagger chain you super easily. They probably have the hardest to parry chain in the whole game, like their 4 whips, and the whip is pretty far reaching. I'd say they go into like A tier. They're pretty dangerous, not as impactful as a Sword Warrior, but they can definitely stun lock you, they can definitely catch you out, and if you like miss a parry chain, you're kind of going to take a ton of damage, and the enraged one's going to be pretty dangerous, so I put them on like the same level as the Devourer personally. Now, the final guy we have here are the Venom Cannons. Now, I feel like Venom Cannons are the easiest of all the Tyrannid Warriors to deal with. They do kind of area denial you at times just because, you know, you have to move when they are aiming at you, but they did make some quality of life features, like now the Assault, when he goes up and they're charging up their shot, they will auto miss, or like they'll auto fire, and also the enraged ones, I don't really find them to be significantly more difficult than the normal ones, because when it comes to these guys, you're either getting shot in the ass or you're not, and you know, they don't really hit you that much. When they do hit you, it's pretty bad, but I'd rather deal with them because their direct impact is just lower to me than like a Devourer, because these guys chip your armor, they're more irritating to be shooting through bosses, and these guys also die pretty easily, and like their attack strings are not super bad. I almost want to put them in B, but I feel like they still deserve A just because they do have like that double shot, and when they do go enraged, it is pretty damn annoying to like deal with them, so we're gonna put them right here. Now, next up we have Gargoyles. I'll put Gargoyles in D because they're only in the campaign, and anything in campaign is pretty easy fodder, so D is like an easy spot for them. Now, next up we have the Extremists. So first up, the Raveners. Raveners I previously put in A, though I kind of decided to put them in S this time because Raveners, they can stun lock you pretty brutally. Now, they have a really obnoxious grab. There is like an actual telegraph for them, like the rubble will be a little different. They'll make a different sound effect. They pop up and you can pretty easily dodge the grab, but they're also very good at frame trapping you. And anything that frame traps you in Space Marine 2 is just a brutal enemy. And when you stack these guys on top of bosses, they have a disgusting impact at times, and way more than like pretty much any other enemy here. Like Raveners can be very brutal, and like their 3 attack string is super obnoxious. If you miss like a single dodge, like you don't actually react to it in time, they'll pretty much catch you with the whole thing and chunk your HP, and once you're stuck in it, you pretty much have to react to it. There's nothing you can do. So I would say S tier. They are definitely super impactful. A Ravener on the field is just a horrifying thing at times, and they have a really bad mix with the rest of the Horde compilations. Now, as for the Lictors here, Lictors are disgusting in this game. They are absolutely relentless. If you're trying to get people up, they do not go away most of the time. They'll just jump on you over and over. They have some pretty unpredictable strings. They also dodge you a ton and get like 90% damage reduction or something like that. And they also like to run away and just go invisible or like just vanish out of your attacks. They are pretty susceptible to parries, but you know, oftentimes they'll come at you in multiple with like multiple Lictors, like 2 or 3, especially in siege mode. I think these guys stacked on top of bosses like Zoanthropes Neurothropes, even the, you know, if they actually spawn out the Hive Tyrant, but especially the Carnifex, they are disgusting. They'll just frame trap you into range attacks, especially like the new artillery buff of the Carnifex. I think they easily go into S. I would say they are more dangerous than Raveners just because Raveners aren't like quite as relentless, but they're both S tier, but Lictors kind of edge them out. Now, next we have the Bioores. Now, Bioores just spin out Spore Mines and have stupid amounts of damage reduction, and when they run by you, they will just drive by you and knock you over. This is probably like the most annoying mechanic in the entire game. Spore Mines alone are like an A tier enemy for like Minoris, and they have stupid amounts of impact. These guys just spit them out, and usually the Bioore just kind of like forces your gameplay in a very particular way, and they're usually the last to die in a horde because they are so damn tanky, and like pretty much only plasma and like super powerful AoE abilities are incredibly good at taking them out. And oftentimes, you know, you run up to them, they're planted in the ground, they're targeting the other teammates you have, and they don't actually get up, and they just take 100% damage reduction from equipment, which is really annoying. I think they are incredibly overtuned at the moment with like their dash attack, but they do fix like the damage reduction here and like stop them from knocking you over. I don't think I hate them as much, but for now, definitely S tier. I think they're probably like the same level of Lictors in a completely different way, but like they're just a very brutal enemy to deal with and have a ton of map impact. Now, next we have the Zoanthropes. I think these are the easiest Extremists in the game currently as far as the Tyrannids go. They don't do a ton unless they're like all on their own. They can sometimes be obnoxious. Like the worst part about them is by far the beam attack they do. Their beam attack will cook you. It is just like incredibly obnoxious to deal with. I'm not a big fan of these guys. They do just like shoot at you all the time, but I don't think they're remotely as dangerous as things like the Lictors or Raveners or Bioores. And usually, like if the way the AI in the game works is that if there are like a ton of other guys attacking you, they don't like to shoot or do anything, so they're actually easier in a bigger horde. And for that reason, I probably put them in like B. I don't think they're that dangerous, to be honest. And like they also are total fodder for things like bolt snipers and stalker bolt rifles. They'll just never exist on the field to begin with, so not that dangerous of an enemy. They used to be way worse, but they did get some nerfs, and now I think they're in B. Next up, we have the Neurothrope. Actually, I probably should put him... You know what? Yeah, these are the Terminus guys. So first, we have the Neurothrope for bosses. Neurothropes are pretty damn annoying. They did get a bit of a nerf to like their stun locks. Their AoE they put on the ground is probably the worst part, and their giant wave. They can be very irritating in this game if you have things like a Biovore or like Ravener or Lictor on them, especially Lictors, because you'll get caught in the wave all the time. I don't know if I'd quite put them in S tier because like all on their own, they are by far the easiest Tyrannid boss currently outside of like some of the mission bosses, and I'd probably put them in A. They're pretty irritating, but they only have like 2 attacks that do a tremendous amount to you, and the tracking did get nerfed on like their giant little balls they have, so I wouldn't really say they're giant little balls, but I would say they don't really have as much as they used to. But the AoE is still very obnoxious, but like so is pretty much every type of frame interruption, and the other bosses just do that more. So next up we have the Hive Tyrant. Hive Tyrant is kind of a bum. This guy is total parry fodder. The ads they spawn the missions, like you never have to fight him with Extremist or anything like that. He is quite easy to deal with. I would say he probably goes into like C, to be honest. He's just like the easiest boss in the game currently. He's definitely easier than the Trigon. Even after a 66% HP buff, he just doesn't do a ton in this game. And just because of that, I just have to put him in C. You know, if you don't know his attack strings, he'll cook you. But that's pretty true for every enemy in this game. And once you do, he is way easier to deal with. So C tier for sure. Next up, we have the Carnifex. Carnifex got a buff in patch 9.0. Their artillery is stupidly accurate. It is pinpoint. They'll arc it over like a perfectly placed box to just shoot you in the face. They do stupid damage, and it will frame trap you incredibly easy. They're also kind of unpredictable at times. Their AI used to bug out a ton when the game came out, but these days they are pretty brutal. I think they are by far the hardest Tyrannid boss currently. I would put them in S tier. Yeah, like that artillery buff is kind of a game ender, especially for some of the squishier classes in this game that aren't that mobile, like a true solo. And the artillery of this thing has killed me more than like anything else on this list, so I would definitely say these guys go into S. So that is the placements for the or those are the placements for the Tyrannids. And now Tyrannids aren't that bad. I think they're the easier faction of the game. And I didn't actually have the Trigon here, but Trigon probably goes in B because he once again you have to fight any Extremists on him. So it just like bosses without Extremists aren't too bad. So he goes in B. But next up we have Chaos. Now first up are these Sword Zangores. These are not the shield guys. I think these dudes can go into like, I don't know, like B. I think they're worse than Hormagaunts because Chaos in general is just like a little more relentless. You're kind of stuck rolling around a ton, and these guys just like occasionally ping you for free. And also a lot of the enemies here with Chaos, they just kind of hound you constantly. You can't always focus on the Zangores, so I would say these guys go into B. Sword Zangores, these guys, or the Shield Zangores, excuse me, these guys are definitely like the hardest Minoris in the entire game. They'll have like 100% range damage reduction if you don't shoot them in the head. Very obnoxious. Also like won't go into the gun strikes very easily, and for that reason I probably put them into A. It is pretty annoying to like run across a whole horde of these guys. Not as bad as it used to be because they used to have like super fat HP. They get nerfed a bit, but they're still by far the hardest Minoris, so I put them in A tier alongside the Spore Mines. Now, next up we have the Lasgun Sniper Cultist. These guys aren't too bad. If they die in one shot, you can walk right through them. When they do hit you, they do a stupid amount of damage, like chunk your HP entirely and remove all of your armor. Very, very obnoxious to deal with, and sometimes they're kind of buggy, and when they are bugging out, they'll sometimes like shoot you twice in a row, which is like duke your HP. So for that reason, I probably put them in B. They said they fixed this in patch 9.0. I've still seen it since then, so B tier for sure. Now, the Autogun Cultists, I'm going to put these guys in like D tier because they do practically nothing. They kind of, you know, they go into C. No, they're going to the D because they're definitely easier than Hormagaunts, and their guns don't do a ton besides like hit your armor sometimes, and that can be kind of annoying. But like compared to everything else on the list, they basically do jack shit. So D tier for sure. Next up, we have the Rubric Marine Bolters, like the Warp Bolter guys. These guys are assholes. When they go enraged, they'll do like their triple shot unblockable. Sometimes the unblockable has like no notification whatsoever and will just like blast your HP away. They do a stupid amount of damage and they're just very annoying with like their melee attacks as well. They have to teleport away from you. I would say they're far harder than like the Flamer Rubric Marines, so we can put them into A tier. I think these guys are a little harder than like Devourers can be. I'd rather deal with like an enraged Devourer than like an enraged Rubric Marine here, just because of like their nuke potential. But as far as like their HP goes, they are easier to kill, so A tier for sure. Next up, we have the Flamers. Now, Flamers are super fucking annoying in this game, and I would say they aren't as bad as the Rubric Autogun guys or the Bolter guys, but they can definitely be irritating with their AoE at times. They like to like just teleport on you and just light you up. And if this Flamer actually gets to sit on you, you are cooked. You know, I mean, that's kind of the whole point. So I'd probably say they can go into B. I would put them below the Rubric Marines here, but they're still pretty irritating, so B for sure. Now we're on to the Extremist here, or excuse me, we have one more Majoris, the Zangor Enlightened. Zangor Enlightened, I mean, these guys fucking suck. They move around so quickly. They are by far the hardest to hit enemy in like the entire game for any Majoris. They are stupidly irritating with their little unblockable shield attacks at times, and they just move everywhere. They don't have too much HP. They can sometimes be easy to body. They have great execute animations, but I say they go into A. I think they're like currently the hardest of all of the Majoris on Chaos, which is why I put them here. Now, for the Extremists, we have melee Terminators. These guys have like one of the most relentless and frame trappable combos in the whole game. They'll jump on you, unblockable you. They are like the most disruptive enemy on Chaos by far. I do think they are harder than like the Soul Cannon Terminators, like the Soul Reaper Cannon Terminators, because these guys will just like fuck up your boss fights big time and just fuck you over. So I would probably put them into S. I say like they can actually be harder than Lictors at times, and also their pistols do a stupid amount of damage to you sometimes. So S tier for sure. Next up, we have the Soul Reaper Cannon guys. These Terminators, they are definitely dangerous. They did receive some nerfs in the game over like the life cycle. They used to shoot out like triple missile barrages, and they only shoot out 2. And their Soul Cannon is pretty easy to interrupt. Though if they catch you off guard, they can nuke your HP. Like their little like chain fire minigun is by far the hardest thing about them. But I don't think they're quite S tier because I'm not as afraid of these guys as I am like a melee Terminator, and like even in a horde, they're not remotely as bad, and like their missiles are pretty easy to dodge. So I'd probably put them into A. They can go here. I think they're probably, yeah, they're definitely harder like Zoanthropes, but not quite at S. Now, next up we have Sorcerers. Sorcerers are kind of hard in the fact that they can be the most obnoxious guys to spawn with a boss. The bosses in this game can be pretty brutal. They're definitely the hardest part of like absolute operations and siege mode. And when there's like a sorcerer around you, they kind of just like extend a wave out or a boss fight tremendously. If you're fighting against them by yourself, I think they can definitely be like A or even S at times because they just keep reviving the Rubric Marines over and over. But in a team, like they don't really do too much all on their own. I probably put them into B for that reason. I kind of feel like the same way about them as I feel about the Zoanthropes, in that like they are irritating, they can do damage to you, they can make the waves pretty obnoxious, but their impact is not quite A or S tier in my opinion, unless you're playing like siege mode, like they're holding out your wave and like wasting your timer. That's pretty much all there is for the Chaos, actual like Majoris, Extremis, and Minoris. Next, we're having the Terminus here. So first up, the Hellbrute. I think Hellbrutes are the hardest boss in the entire game. They have a stupid amount of like fat AoE attacks. They have a pretty hard to dodge hammer smash as well. Like perfect dodging their giant AoE blast is very difficult, and their plasma shots can just like chain stagger you over and over. Triple Hellbrute in this game is probably the hardest content to true solo period, just because of the way Hellbrutes operate in like conjunction with one another. Very, very irritating enemy. I fucking hate these guys. I would put them in S tier easily. I put them over the Carnifex. I think they are just like the hardest boss in the game currently, and they just suck. Now, next we have Imura. Imura is only in the campaign, or if you're playing like the Astartes overhaul, but I'd say this guy can go into B. I'm sure a lot of you have kind of like forgotten this boss, but he can go into B because he can be hard at times. If you were like fight him with like Extremis, he would be pretty brutal. He has a pretty fun design. This guy actually took me a long time in the campaign to beat on like Angel of Death. Obviously, I just started playing the game, but Since then, I think he deserves B, and for the Helldrake, he goes into D because he's not a boss fight. And that's pretty much everything on the tier list for all the enemies in Space Marine 2 patch 9.0. I think a few things have changed because I will mention the Bioores do actually synapse burst the Spore Mines now in patch 9.0, did not do that in like any other patch of the game, so not too bad there. But on like the note of all the enemies, I think they're like the balance is pretty good for most of them. Maybe like the Carnifex and the Hellbrute like stunlocks are a little overtuned right now, but like each of them serves a purpose pretty well, and that's my opinion on their rankings here currently. A few things have changed, but like overall I think it's mostly the same from patch 8.0. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Which enemy do you hate the most? And as always, if I content like this, subscribe for more, and thanks for watching, guys. Take it easy. Bye.